So start this week's mindfulness with adjusting your posture. You can first close your eyes or gaze downward just to reduce the visual stimulation in your field. And your posture is made up of probably the seat to your chair or sofa and the feet down on the ground, a sense of groundedness and a letting go. We can let go into the gravity that's holding us to the seat, to the floor, to the earth. And then, sort of in the middle of the body, above the tailbone and behind the navel, you can start to lengthen up through the spine, all the way through the torso, and wide through the collarbones, and through the neck, from the middle of the head to the crown of the head. So there's a sense of liftedness. So we have that same sense of grounding and liftedness, and we can hold them together. Each sensation manifesting as it will, becoming completely aware of the feeling of groundedness and the feeling of liftedness. So those are physical feelings. And then from the physical feeling of groundedness, take your attention to your seat and manifest an emotional feeling of groundedness, of settledness or stability. Just allow yourself to physically feel the groundedness and let that seep into the emotional realm and get a feeling of groundedness, stability, and enjoy that for several breaths. Just keep the focus on the physical feeling of groundedness and the emotional feeling of stability. If other thoughts come in, they're going to go right to the outside edge of awareness. We're going to call those weeds for this practice. And we're going to call the flower the groundedness. That's what we're paying attention to. Very good. And then physically turn your attention to the sense of liftedness that you feel through the spine and with the broadness of the shoulders and with the length through the back of the neck. And the space above your head and around your face and shoulders and upper body. A completely different quality than the feeling of groundedness and stability in the lower body. And then feel that physical feeling for just a few breaths. And then let that physical feeling of lightness and spaciousness pour into the emotional realm. So you feel a sense of lightness and openness and spaciousness. Maybe of possibility or curiosity. And equate that with the liftedness you feel from the base of the spine to the crown of the head and above. If you get distracted by other thoughts, that's okay. Just let them go to the outside edge of awareness, like you're separating that thought as a weed, and you're focusing on the flower of the liftedness in your body. Very good. And now we'll turn our attention, excuse me, from physical and emotional sensation to our thought process in our minds. So there's two basic kinds of thought. There's auditory thought, the words or stories or songs or poems or whatever stream of consciousness that you hear. And then there's visual thought, images, pictures, movies that play. So we're going to go with either one of those. And if you want to choose one to notice, go ahead and do that, either auditory or visual. Otherwise, it's both. And we're going to practice the mindfulness vipassana technique of just allowing thoughts to arise. Not doing anything about them yet, but just pay attention to each individual thought as it arises, and then let it go. So sometimes we think that our thinking might resemble a big tangled bowl of spaghetti noodles. And all we're doing with this mindfulness is just pulling out one noodle at a time and looking at it and setting it down in a dish to our right. And then letting another thought arise out of that tangle in the dish on the left, and just looking at it and setting it down. And you were probably looking at visuals of spaghetti noodles in your mind, so that's fine. And let's come back to what the noodles are pointing to, each individual thought. Takes a little more concentration, but put your attention and intention to recognizing any thought that arises, visual or auditory, or one of the above. Very good. Now, you're going to use the executive functioning part of your brain. And as a thought comes up, you're going to decide, is that a thought I just want to set aside? Or is that a thought that I want to manifest? That I want to stay with and enjoy for a number of breaths. And then do exactly that. Discard the thought at the outside edge like it was a weed, if that's your choice. And if not, settle into the thought. Feel the effect of it in your body. See it in your mind. Hear it. Be with it. Not necessarily having it become anything other than what it is. A thought, a string of words, or an image. And then if one comes up that you want to set aside, go ahead and do that. It's a good practice, a good skill to realize you have this ability to set aside a thought or to expand upon it. Pay close attention to thought as it arises and take one or two paths. Set it aside or allow it to manifest and sit with it for a breath or two, or however long your concentration lasts. And any of these thoughts may be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Doesn't matter. But you just decide which one's going to go to the outside edge of awareness and which one's going to take your attention. Very good. Stay with the practice or stay with a practice. My suggestions are just that. You can always continue to focus on your breath or your posture. Any thought that arises, you either set it aside or you enjoy it. You let it settle in. You sit with it like you were sitting with a friend. Enjoy the presence. Thoughts that we set aside are like weeds we take from the garden. And thoughts that we sit with are like the flowers in the garden that we gaze at. Water and feed. And there may be no thought at all. There may be a blank space behind the screen of the eyelids. There may be no words that appear in auditory thought. So just enjoy rest, if that's the case, until another thought comes up. If you find yourself going down the tracks or going down the river with a thought until it becomes a story, this happens and that happens and this happens and that happens. Consider that something to set aside and wait for the next individual thought that you'd like to pay attention to. Take your time. There's no hurry, no need to rush, no need for grand efforts or actions, just awareness. Just take several more breaths like this, and then I'll begin to count back from 5 to 1. And when I get to 1, our practice will be finished. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you can open your eyes and move around a little bit. Have a drink of water if you like. And we'll share, if you care to, on the practice. Let me turn off the recording. The important thing to do. Join us next week for mindfulness. We also have a live option on Thursdays on Zoom. So if you'd like to be part of that, please email me, AndreaMarion193 at gmail.com. Thank you.